Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
It's my friend is a science.
I still don't have kids, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome, glad to have you here. Oh look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee. You sure? It's cultist coffee. What makes it cultist coffee? I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it. Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to my home. Welcome to the office. Welcome to the morning grind. It is so great to have you this morning and especially today. Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship it.
Yes, you got it. It's Groundhog Day. Yes. Happy Groundhog Day. Hope everybody is doing great. It is good to see everybody. Let's see. So, yes, gonna have to be sure I watch that today if I can. I'm sure that whatever it's streaming on will be bombarded. Let's see. I was going to look up over here. I guess that can be one of the things that we see. I was like, I gotta make sure this is the right day. It was on the calendar, but Google. I went to Google, I figuring that they would have a Google Doodle, and they didn't. So maybe they don't do that anymore. But I just see that NPR 3 hours ago says that Puxatawny Phil declares an early spring. Puxatawny Phil, the renowned groundhog, has been predicting the winter will end since 1877. That says things are about to warm up. So no shadow rises without a shadow. So there we go. All right. Let's see. So happy Groundhog Day to everybody. Let's see. Last night, we spoke with Matt Bird. This has been an epic week. Or see, today, our main story today, I've had the Book of Exalted Deeds here. I'll sell it myself. I've had this sitting here, and I was going to look at it in the future. We were getting ready to do some more stuff on angels and things, but everything is moving so slowly over here. And I was like, this book has been sitting here on the shelf for quite a while. And we really enjoyed taking a look at the Book of Vile Darkness. And so we had, so I said, hey, we should definitely take a look at the Book of Exalted Deeds. So it's been sitting here on the shelf in the to be looked at pile. And so I was like, let's do it. Well, people have been enjoying the hat. So I've just decided that, well, I think I'll just stick with the hat for a little bit. So we'll just see. Tom McCrat says the book is okay-ish. We came up with lots of stuff for the Book of Vile Deeds. I don't know that I've been through this. I might have looked at it. I haven't looked at it since I bought this. When I got it in, I figured I'd look at it with you guys. And so I just put it over there on the shelf. So that's our main topic for today. Yesterday, we had a fantastic conversation with Matt Bird. The table talk this whole week has been fantastic. Table talk with Matt Bird. I highly recommend you take a look at Table Talk with Matt Bird if you have not done so already. I'll put a link over there. He wrote the book, The Secrets of Story. He had a lot to say about the condition of colleges and especially Master of Fine Arts programs and such with the preparation to prepare you for writing screenplays and such. So, and then plus he has his own unique perspective on story creation and also like looking at stories, basically all the movies that we have as a big corpus of material to analyze. And so I highly recommend that you take a look at The Secrets of Stories. That was great. Let's see. That's basically what's going on at the moment. Let's take a look at the Dungeons and Dragons thing in just a moment. It seems like it's basically what we thought it was. But I will point out as well that I've been trying to get landing pages up and running for the different kinds of things that we've been doing. So I've been working on landing pages for the coffee shop, so we can actually get a website up about that. So I've been working on that, and it's, of course, everything is just slower than I would like it to be. So, but I'm getting close to having a landing page up where people, will actually have more information about what the online gaming coffee shop is and so forth. So I'm getting close. And at the same time, I'm putting up a new website or a landing page as well about Ritual, the relaunch of the Cultists. We're doing a dice giveaway. I got tons of dice over here to give away. I got like $500 worth of dice over here, some of which are out of print. So to let everybody know what's going on with Ritual, the relaunch, the Cultists, all that. So I am building out those two websites together, and then I'll put together a little trailer about them. Take a look at that. That's a preview of the Cultists RPG cover. This was done by Adam Botsford. I think we're getting close to it being done. The Cultists. So we've got the cover right there. That's close to final. for the RPG. So I've been trying to get these things, these two landing pages up, and then I'll do like a 45-second trailer on each one, and then we'll start promoting it, and we'll start getting people in here, and then we will start moving on. But we need people to be able to know what these things are. So that's what's going on that side of things. So yep, just everything takes a bit of time, but those are being constructed and so forth. Everybody likes dice, Tomocrat and Sable. Let's see. So over here, so what did it say? So James did post a note. I think this is from Forbes right here. You know, when we read that the other day about the Dungeons and Dragons sale, and it came down and said, well, they're looking to purchase a series of rights. I mean, that could have meant anything. So, you know, that seemed like a license to me. So we didn't really buy into a whole lot of stuff over here on this channel. But it says over here, so this is James had posted this in the Discord server. Wizards of the Coast, the Hasbro division behind tabletop game Dungeons and Dragons, is denying rumors sparked by a Chinese news report that a struggling Hasbro could be selling its Dungeons and Dragons franchise to a Chinese video game company, Tencent. Key facts: multiple gaming outlets on Wednesday highlighted a report from Chinese news site Speed Daily, translated on Pan Daily, that cited unnamed sources claiming Hasbro's financial problems were driving the company to consider selling the popular brand. According to that report, Tencent, the Chinese video game giant who also owns popular social media platform WeChat. Oh, this says it owns WeChat. Now, you guys were saying TikTok on Wednesday, but this says WeChat. Now, I know WeChat's huge. So, in China, of course, I know TikTok is huge as well. But this says, so do they, it seems like, do they also, they'll probably also say if they own TikTok, but this says WeChat was in early stage negotiations to purchase a series of rights that would include adaptation rights for video games based on brands like Dungeons and Dragons. So Sable says they do own TikTok too. Through the precise scope of potential IP sale was not immediately clear, but on this Thursday statement to multiple outlets, including Forbes, Wizards of the Coast, the Hasbro division that publishes Dungeons and Dragons, including Magic the Gathering, denied the rumors, claiming that while the company has multiple partnerships with Tencent, they are not looking to sell our D&D intellectual property, and the company would not comment any further on speculation or rumors about potential M&A or licensing rights. So the rumor prompted a response of surprise and concern from fans Wednesday, especially given Dungeons & Dragons' strong performance within Hasbro's portfolio. This is madness to me, Zoe Scanman, founder of Brand Strategy Studios Bodacious, wrote on X in response to the rumor. Well, I mean, I guess we already know all that. But so there we go. So I guess rumor kind of denied here. So it was fake news. Kind of sounds like it. All right, so that was our situation over there. All right, you know what? I did not get my drink this morning, so I'm going to go pour one, and then we'll take a look at the Book of Exalted Deeds. I don't have our next book ready, so we just finished Turning Pro yesterday by Stephen Pressfield, and I think I was recommended the Daily Stoic, but I don't have it ready, I realized this morning. Let me make note of that to get the Daily Stoic ready. It sounds like it would be perfect for like a morning message. But let me grab something to drink. So be right back.
Oh, it's time for a Yeti hug break. Yeti hug break, Yeti hug break. Everybody go hug yo Yeti and show yo Yeti some love.
All right. Just grabbed a Mountain Dew Zero this morning. All right. Wait, Vision says we start talking about hair loss in the chat, and the advertisements on Heath's Geekverse webpage are for hair loss. Oh. All right. All right, let's open up the auxiliary camera. Let's see. Auxiliary camera, light. Just not right this morning. There we go. Hey, Stray, good morning. Good morning, RPG Exile. Good morning. All right, now I've got things going here. So, the Book of Exalted Deeds. And like I said, I got this soon after we did our series on the Book of Vile Darkness. If you haven't been here, you should check out the stream on the Book of Vile Darkness. That was a series that we went through, and we actually it sparked great conversations. The Book of Vile Darkness sparked great conversations about the evil, some of its nature, how we include it in role-playing games. It was really one of the great series on Table Talk, Morning Grind, I think. And we were talking about it also in the context of, the Book of Erotic Fantasy. We looked at the Book of Erotic Fantasy as well when we were thinking about the D20 trademarks and so forth, the D20 license, and that controversy about whether or not how that changed the D20 license and so forth. So this is a wizard's book, though. What date was this? I'm looking for a date here. A lot of memories here with this layout, because there was a lot of 3rd edition that was played. Oh, it is named the Book of Exhausted Deeds. I saw you guys talking about, oh man, now I got to talk about, I'm so tired this morning. Oh, I'll have to change this. The Book of Exhausted Deeds. We already had our Groundhog's Day joke. What year is this? I don't see a publication date. No, maybe it's on the back. Let's see. It says anyway, strike down evil with the sword of enlightenment. Only those who are pure in word, thought, and deed may look upon the knowledge gathered within this blessed tome. For the blinding truths inscribed within offer nothing but the redemption or destruction from the wicked. May these consecrated pages forever illuminate the paths of righteousness. Raziel, the Crusader, ruler of the Platinum Heaven. This source book for the D&D game is intended for mature audiences and provides players and dungeon masters with inspiring subject matter that will broaden any campaign. Included is a detailed look at the nature of good and the complex challenges that face those who join the eternal struggle on the side of the moral and just. Along with exalted feats, prestige classes, and spells, the Book of Exalted Deeds is also provides descriptions and statistics for a host of creatures and celestial paragons to ally and with virtuous characters. All right. So I think with as with the Book of Vile Darkness, the Book of Exalted Deeds is both an artifact within that, within the game world, and that's exactly what I was just saying. That I think that's the case. Sable Phoenix says the Book of Vile Darkness is an in-universe item. Is the same true with Exalted Deeds? I don't remember it being mentioned diegetically. I think it is. So actually, okay, so I'm sure it'll come up with this. Hey, good morning, Andrew. Good morning. So it says, why is this one? Mine doesn't have the sticker on it. Maybe the sticker was taken off of it or something. But this one was also marked for mature audiences, and that's what it says on the back of this book anyway. So it says, We tried to present the material with sensitivity and appropriate gravity, and we trust you to use it in the same way. It says author's note. Now, let's see here. Like the Book of Vile Darkness, the Book of Exalted Deeds is intended for mature players. That's not because it's filled with lurid descriptions of depravity and torture. The material isn't meant to shock or offend, though some topics may. This book deals with tough questions of ethics and morality in a serious manner. It's intended to help players and dungeon masters wrestle with hard in-game issues. It's okay to slaughter every drow I see. Is it okay to slaughter every drow I see and sell their goods in the open market? How do I wrest information from any enemy prisoners without compromising my alignment? Is there any hope for that one for the orc whelps in the stronghold, or should I slaughter them too? Oh, this is probably gonna spark great conversations as well. But it says, author's note, we didn't expect this book to require a disclaimer like the one Monty put in front of the book, The Vile Darkness. I like to think I'm a good person, and I strongly encourage other people to be good as well. Nevertheless, I feel the need to point out that this book attempts to define the morality of goodness in the context of the D&D world, not the real world. While I've tried to explore some shades of gray in this book, the D&D universe is still much more black and white than the real world. I don't advocate anyone killing someone they think is evil, just to give one example. All right, that's a note from the author. Mike says, so this is a D&D ethics tome. Sable says, RPGs have always dealt with mature stuff. Find Ron Edwards' essay, Naked Went the Gamer, somewhere for a nice little overview of the tone and subject matter of old school RPGs. Let's see. All right. So, what is good? Many characters are happy to rattle off long lists of sins they haven't committed as evidence they are good. The utter avoidance of evil, however, doesn't make a character good. Solidly neutral, perhaps, but not good. Being good requires a certain quality of temperament, the presence of virtues that spur a character, not just to avoid evil of appearance, but to actively promote good. As expressed in the player's handbook, good implies altruism, respect for life, and a concern for the dignity of sentient beings. Good characters make personal sacrifices to help others. Being good, I said that. Good is not nice, polite, well-mannered, prudish, self-righteous, or naive, though good-aligned creatures may be some of those things. Good is the awesome, holy energy that radiates from the celestial planes and crushes evil. Good is selfless, just, hopeful, benevolent, and righteous. Vision says, defending the innocent and helpless, overcoming those that would sow discord, destruction, and death. Inner Light says, RPG will always present ethical problems and conundrums that we won't always face directly in the real world, but which we can still learn from. Usually to do that, it has to plunge, it has to kind of plunge into the depths of human consciousness. So, exalted deeds. These acts of goodness are concrete, positive means by which heroes in the world fight against the darkness of evil. They are the meat and drink of the exalted hero and should serve as inspiration for how to play a character of good alignment, suggesting not only common actions, but also motivations and personality traits. When a village elder comes to a good character and says, please help us, the dragon is threatening our village, the good character's response is not, what can you pay? Neutral characters might be that mercenary, and evil characters would certainly consider how to collect the most benefit from the situation. For a good character, however, helping others is a higher priority than personal gain. A good character might ask a number of other questions before leaping into her seat and charging into the village's aid. Good characters aren't necessarily stupid. They aren't necessarily stupid, it says. Andrew says, enter at your own risk always seems smart. I feel like pre-internet days, acts of transgression were much more mild. Too much crazy stuff just a click away. A good character can be cautious, determining how powerful the dragon is and whether additional reinforcements are required, but she should never say, sorry, I'm out of my league, go find another hero. It's just good sense to learn as much as possible about a foe before plunging into battle. Even more, a good character need not be naively trusting. Some might go to great lengths to verify the elder story is true and not some villain's attempt to lure them into a trap. But all her caution or suspicion still doesn't undermine a good character's responsibility to offer help to those in need. Altruism is the first word in the player's handbook definition of good, and helping others without reward or even thanks is part of a good character's daily work. So who are these others a good character are supposed to help? Again, the good is not necessarily stupid rule comes into play. Obviously, a good character is not required by her alignment to help evil characters or those who are working at cross purposes to the good character's own goals. However, altruism often blends into mercy in situations where a villain asks for quarter and aid, see mercy below. In any case, altruism is tempered by respect for life and concern for the dignity of sentient beings, and good characters balance their desire to help others with their desire to promote goodness and life. Well, see, that's possible. So Sable is against the disclaimer on games. But Lynn says, I wonder if disclaimers are a product of the moral panic of the 1980s. And I tend to agree if that's possible too, because this is already such an area where we had been through the satanic panic. And that, by the way, is a topic for table talk, by the way, the satanic panic. I'd like to find somebody to talk more about that. I don't know when. We got a lot of topics. But I mean, they had been through that, especially with the book of Vile Darkness. It kind of surprises me anyway they did that, especially after having gone through the Book of Erotic Fantasy. But on the other hand, good marketing, perhaps, right? This is the Book of Vile Darkness for mature audiences only, and look, here is your disclaimer. It could be the same kind of thing here. Because this one, I think that this one is interesting in that regard. Because you're like, okay, first of all, with the Book of Vile Deeds, like, oh, the Book of Vile Darkness for mature audiences only. It's like, oh, what's in this? Book of Exalted Deeds. Oh, wait a minute. This is also for mature audiences only? Well, why? So that makes you want to check it out for another reason. It might be something like the albums and CDs, when you still went and bought CDs, wanting to have that disclaimer sticker on there that, like, this is for, 17 plus, just because that makes it seem like something edgy, right? So charity, one specific aspect of helping others is charity, providing material assistance to those in need, particularly those who in situations life robs them of pride and respect, offering food to the hungry, clothes to the naked, lodging to the homeless, care for orphans and widows, and hope to the helpless are among the simplest and most profound of good deeds. Good characters offer this sort of assistance to needy people without regard to their moral character and with the utmost concern for their dignity. The idea that creatures too weak to better themselves deserve their low position is a hallmark of evil dogma. Good characters reject this notion completely, recognizing that most poor and needy people are the victims of circumstance, not their own weakness or failings. Right, the warning, that's what I was saying. The wizards is the warning is the advertising. Yeah, a selling point, right. Robert says, Wizards was supposed to undo the satanic panic, but instead Hasbro just introduced a new brand of prudishness. You can't win. The legacy disclaimers are particularly wrong, in my opinion. Oh, yeah, well, that's a different thing, too. So the disclaimer that we just read at this book was put in at the time of publication. So then there's another issue that that are the disclaimers that come retroactively. So that's a different sort of can of worms there. Mike says, I recall those days of the satanic panic. Fortunately, my parents never bought into it. The result was that my brother and I grew up playing RPGs and having epic adventures. Oh, it was definitely something that was very present in my house. I've talked about that before. I'm glad it didn't affect you, though. Let's see. Healing wounds, removing disease, and neutralizing poison are concrete embodiments of a good character's respect for life. These deeds are not necessarily good since they can be performed selflessly or in the interests of evil. Even so, healing magic involves positive energy, which is closely linked to a holy power. I don't think you can either. Andrew says, I don't think you can combat moral panic with reason. They're tapping into fear, and fear cells. Or prevents you from selling if you're on the other side of that. Let's see. Most good characters devote their lives to healing as an expression of their morality. Pelor is a god of healing, and his clerics within the healing domain make it their mission to share Pelor's benevolence with others through healing. Even paladins, whose mission is primarily to smite evildoers, have the innate ability to heal wounds and remove disease as a reflection of their pure goodness. A character devoted to healing views the power of to heal as a gift of celestial power, and is generally careful never to use that gift in a way that would cheapen or taint it, by healing evil characters, for example. Oh, really? So it says a character devoted to healing views the powers to heal as a gift of celestial power and is generally careful never to use that gift in a way that would cheapen or taint it, by healing evil characters, for example. On the other hand, some view healing as a means of grace, believing that every cure-light wounds cast on a blackguard cannot help but lead the villain closer to repentance and redemption. Interesting. Hey, Michael. Personal sacrifice. A good character doesn't just help others or fight evil when it's convenient for him to do so. Even the most generous altruism, when it comes without sacrifice or even serve one's own interest, is neutral at best. A character committed to the cause of good champions that cause in any circumstance, even at great personal risk or cost. Forfeiting any claim on a reward for one's deeds is a simple form of sacrifice touched upon in the previous section. Voluntarily donating money, goods, or even magic items to a temple, charitable institution, an orphanage, or aid society, or other organization is another financial sacrifice often practiced by good characters. Exceptionally virtuous characters might swear sacred vows, forever sacrificing their enjoyment of some worldly pleasure, alcohol or stimulant, sex or material possessions, of course, or course of action, including violence. True heroes in righteousness all too often sacrifice their own lives. This says all too often. True heroes of righteousness all too often sacrifice their own lives to save the lives of others. Let's see. Let's see what the sidebar says. It says, Exalted Deeds and Vile Darkness. Your gaming group will make the best use of this book if your DM, at least, also has a copy of the Book of Vile Darkness. Nothing in here requires you to have another book, but a party of exalted player characters shines brightest when pitted against truly vile villains. Some of the spells, feats, items, and other offerings in this book are specifically designed to contract similar bits of vileness. The spell Ease Pain was written specifically with angry ache in mind, for instance. However, they have broad enough application that you can use them even without another book, since in the case of Ease Pain, a number of other spells and effects create pain. The Book of Vile Darkness includes an appendix concerning evil characters. If you're part of a campaign with evil characters, then the function of this book might shift somewhat. In that case, the Book of Exalted Deeds becomes a source of opponents and enemies, good creatures to fight, and good spells for those non-player characters to cast against those characters. That's a perfectly fine use of this book. On the other hand, if all the new tricks, spells, feats, prestige classes, and Book of Vile Darknesses tempt you to explore evil characters, then you have to look at the material. Then have a look at the material in Book of Exalted Deeds. Maybe you'll find inspiration to return to the side of good. Sable says, I remember borrowing a Dungeons & Dragons Choose Your Own Adventure book from a friend once and getting yelled at by my mom. Oh. Zero the Blade says, morning, looking back at the better era of D&D. Certainly one I remember very fondly. Let's see. Worshipping good deities. The deities of good are the highest exemplars of the principles of virtue, righteousness, and purity. By offering them worship, sacrifice, and service, good characters cultivate their own personal virtue, assist the cause of good in concrete ways, supporting the charitable work of the church, and strengthening clerics and paladins who serve as the deity's agents, and extending the deity's reach in the world. Not all good characters worship good deities. Some serve neutral deities like Saint Cuthbert, Obadiah, or Alid Omara, while others put the claims of good above the dogma of any deity. Nevertheless, virtually all good characters are willing to cooperate with the churches of good deities, recognizing them as allies with a common cause. Is this actually 3 or is this 3.5? So I was looking for a date on it and I couldn't find it. Which logo is that? Is this 3 or 3.5? I'm not sure. But yes, that era anyway. Probably compatible with both, you know. Let's see. Unlike evil deities, good deities usually have temples and shrines in open public places, often at or near the center of bustling cities. In fact, the worship of good deities is one of the forces that often helps to cement humanoid communities together, serving to unite the populace in a common activity and a common set of ideals. This is particularly common among non-human races of good alignment, including the halflings, dwarves, and elves, where good alignment is the norm and a single deity often claims the allegiance of an entire community. Let's see. Casting good spells. Good spells alleviate suffering, inspire hope or joy, use the caster's energy or vitality to help or heal another, summon celestials, or channel holy power. Particularly in the last instance, good spells might be just as destructive, or at least to evil creatures, as a fireball. No good spells involve only sweetness and light. Not all good spells involve only sweetness and light. Good spells don't have any redemptive influence on those who cast them, for better or worse. An evil wizard who dabbles in a few good spells, most likely to help him achieve his selfish ends, do not usually decide to abandon evil ways because he's been purified by the touch of the holy. On the other hand, there are certain spells whose sanctified nature demands a concrete physical sacrifice from the caster. No character can draw upon such holy magic without being changed for the better as a result. Mercy. Oh, we got to take a look at this image right here. October 2023. Oh, so Innerlight says the Book of Exalted Deeds is one of the last books for 3.0, published in October 2023. So it looks like we've got two succubi here in sweet embrace. And it says a paladin must choose between destroying evil and honoring love. So mercy. For good characters who devote their lives to hunting and exterminating the forces of evil, mercy means giving quarter to enemies who surrender and treat criminals and prisoners with compassion and even kindness. It is in effect the good doctrine of respect for life taken to its logical extreme, respecting and honoring even the life of one's enemy. In a full world of enemies who show no respect for life whatsoever, it can be extremely tempting to treat foes as they have treated others, to exact revenge for slain comrades and innocents, and to offer no quarter and to become merciless. A good character must not succumb to that trap. Good characters must offer mercy and accept surrender, no matter how many times villains might betray that kindness or escape from captivity to continue their evil deeds. If a foe surrenders, a good character is bound to accept that surrender. Bind the prisoner and treat him as kindly as possible. See Mercy, Prisoners, and Redemption in Chapter 2 for more about the proper treatment of prisoners. In general, it's a good idea of the DM to make sure that the players aren't punished unnecessarily for showing mercy to opponents. If every prisoner schemes to betray the party and later escapes from prison, the players quickly come to realize that showing mercy simply isn't worthwhile. It's fine for those frustrations to arise once in a while, but if they happen every time, the players will rightly give up in frustration. Forgiveness. Oh, let's look. We got down here a sidebar, or the bottom bar, whatever you call that. Let's see. Exalted versus epic. The word epic and exalted are similar in meaning as well as reminiscent of each other in sound. In the context of a D&D game, however, their meanings are completely unrelated to each other. Epic characters those who've exceeded 20th level, entering territory beyond that explored in the player's handbook. Exalted characters are simply those of any level who are devoted to the highest ideals of good, whether lawful, neutral, or chaotic in bent. Exalted characters may become epic like any other character. Exalted deeds may often have an epic scope without necessarily involving characters of epic level. The terms are distinct, and it's important to remember the material in this book is applicable to characters of any level in their adventure. Oh, PH was also in on the 3 and 3.5 era of gaming. PH says, me and my group played a lot of 3 and 3.5. We had all the books. It was a lot. Oh, Michael says, father-in-law used this to create a paladin who was able to convert 200 kobolds in the middle of a battle. I've never been up to 20th level either. I'm not sure what my highest level character was, but I think it was an AD&D. I think it was an AD&D character. And I can't remember if it got as high as 12th or not. Probably not. But MZ has had a great time. I remember those Satanic Panic days too, with Black Sabbath music playing in the background as I and my bros and friends played D&D undeterred because parents had no clue and weren't interested. I don't know. Well, I guess I don't see how it can't ultimately address that. I feel like it's going to have to. Law and chaos, Mike. Eventually in some place. Forgiveness. Closely tied to mercy, forgiveness is still a separate act. Mercy means respecting the life of an enemy, treating him like a being worthy of kindness. Forgiveness is an act of faith, a willingness to believe that even the vilest evildoer is capable of change. Good characters are not enjoined to forgive and forget every time someone harms them. At the simplest level, forgiveness means abdicating one's right to vengeance. On a deeper level, if the evil character makes an attempt to repent, turn away from evil, and lead a better life, the good character is called upon to encourage the reformed villain, let the past be the past, and not to hold the character's evil deeds against her. Forgiveness is essential to redemption. If those she has harmed refuse to forgive her, a character seeking to turn away from evil faces nothing but hatred and resentment to those who should be her new allies. Isolated from both her former allies and her former enemies, she nurses resentment and quickly slides back into her evil ways. By extending forgiveness to those who ask it, good characters actively spread good, both by encouraging those who are trying to turn away from evil and by demonstrating to evildoers that the path of redemption is possible. Bringing hope. It's the most soulless evil villains. If the most soullessly evil villains relish spreading despair and devouring every last shred of hope, it naturally follows the cause of good involves rekindling hope in the face of despair. This might be the most nebulous of all good deeds, hard to define and measure, but it might also be the heart and essence of good. All the other good deeds discussed in this section, in addition to their often concrete and physical benefits to people in need, have the additional intangible benefit of increasing hope. A man whose body is wasting away from disease actually has two illnesses: the physical disease that consumes his flesh and the despair that gnaws his soul. Healing him not only heals his body, but also restores lost hope. A woman who throws herself on a paladin's mercy and turns from her evil ways, struggles along the difficult road to redemption. The paladin's mercy and forgiveness often offer the most important assistance along that road. Hope, a vision of that reward that lies ahead. So Sable says the good-evil axis is independent from the law and chaotic axis, but I think that, I would think this book would eventually address their interaction. Let's see. Hope in its truest form is more than just a vague wish for things to be better than they are. It's a taste of things as they might be. When an exalted bard comes to a city that groans under the oppressive rule of a pit fiend, he may inspire hope by singing tales of liberation, by demonstrating force of arms against the pit fiend's diabolic minions. But the best hope available to the oppressed residents of the city is where the bard simply shows them kindness, thereby reminding them of what it was like to live under a more benign rule. He brings them together in a community where the devils have been turning them against each other, sowing distrust and despair. Oh, he brings them together in a community, whereas the devils have been turning them against each other. By experiencing a taste of kindness and freedom, however small, the citizens are inspired with hope. That hope empowers them to resist the devils, with or without the bard's force of arms. Redeeming evil. Perhaps the greatest act of good one could ever hope to accomplish is the redemption of an evil soul. Bringing an evil character to see the error of his ways not only stops her from preying on innocent victims, but also helps her as well, winning her a place in the blessed afterlife of the upper planes instead of an eternity of torment and damnation in the lower. While acts of charity and healing might help a person's body, redeeming an evil character helps her soul. Holding a sword to a captured villain's throat and shouting, "Worship Haronius or die," is not a means of redemption. Sword point conversions might be a useful political tool, but it's almost entirely without impact on the souls of the converts. Worse, it stinks of evil, robbing the victims of freedom to choose and echoing the use of torture to extract desired behavior. True redemption is much more difficult and involved process, but truly virtuous characters consider the reward worth the extra effort involved. The processing of redemption to describe in Chapter 2, the process of redemption is described in Chapter 2, Variant Rules. Of course, good characters recognize that some creatures are utterly beyond redemption. Most creatures described in the Monster Manual are always evil, are either completely irredeemable or so intimately tied to evil that they are almost entirely hopeless. Boy, we talk about this quite a bit with the nature of good and evil here and on the Table Talk channel, right? So this is what a lot of people have a problem with, especially as we've gone into other editions of Dungeons and Dragons, right? This idea of unredeemable evil. So this says most creatures described in the Monster Manual as always evil. First of all, describing monsters in that way at all is a thing. But they are either completely irredeemable or so intimately tied to evil that they are almost entirely hopeless. Certain demons and devils are best slain, or at least banished, and only a naive fool would try to convert them. Evil dragons might not be entirely beyond salvation, but there is truly only the barest glimmer of hope. On the other hand, good characters approach every encounter with orcs, goblinoids, and even the thoroughly evil drow with a heart and open mind, with heart and a mind open to the possibility, with heart and mind open to the possibility. However remote that his opponents might someday be transformed into allies, creatures that are usually evil can be redeemed. This is not to say that a good character's first thought in an ambush should be, how can I redeem these poor orcs? However, if the ambushing orcs end up surrendering, there is ample opportunity to seek their redemption. Lynn says, one cleric in a campaign I played was forbidden by his superiors to just kill monsters, so he went around yelling, "Do you accept salvation?" before whacking them with his mace. Sable says, now WotC is spineless and has nothing listed as always evil. Even if they're demons and devils, they're usually evil, which is ludicrous. So is that true? Like, what is, let's take a look. The 5e Monster Manual. So Bugbear Chief. Well, see, this is the original. So like Bugbear Chieftain right here says medium humanoid, goblinoid, chaotic evil. But where do I find, like, here's Ancient Red Dragon, chaotic evil. Now, Orc was one of the ones that's been changed, I know, in future, and like, and even errated, right? Orc, medium humanoid, chaotic evil. So this one doesn't use the phraseology chaotic, right? Where I can find it, or no, excuse me, usually or always, right? This just says orc, chaotic evil. Demon. Elemental. Dragons.
Chain devil. There's a type of devil. Chain devil. Lawful evil. Barbed devil. Lawful evil. Bearded devil. Lawful evil. Bone devil. Lawful evil. So someone may have other books to also take a look at and see why they change that. Daniel says, chaotic evil. This is legacy content. It's no longer official material. Okay, Sable says, no, it won't find in the monster manual. It's on D&D Beyond now, and will be listed that way in the 6th edition when it comes out. So we'll have to see what 6th edition is like. I don't know if we care. I don't, we've kind of been moving on to other things here. We haven't looked at a whole bunch of, like, we started off like a year ago looking at some of the stuff that was being released. That was actually before even the OGL debacle, when I think they had at least released some information on clerics or something like that. So we did take a look at that, but I don't know. Michael says, does the meaning of evil change between editions? Lynn says, it's an interesting question as to whether or not Tolkien's orcs were in fact redeemable or whether they were intrinsically evil. This book treats them as the latter. Yeah, there are other things that are more interesting to me now. And I was talking to a friend of mine the other day and was like, or at least Sable says D&D isn't dead to me, but WotC's version is, that today I would play, like, if we were introducing new players, of course, I'd go and play tabletop games with my nephews, and I wouldn't put 5th edition D&D on that list of things to play with them. Now, my one of my nephews came over, this has been a while ago now, and specifically wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons, and so I did play the starter box with him. I would play the AD&D starter box with them. I think that would be a lot of fun. But I haven't been interested in, like, I would choose other things to introduce them to before specifically the current version of Dungeons and Dragons. See how much time we got. We got a little bit more time here. The straight and narrow. The choice to follow the path of exalted deeds means picking one's way among complicated moral issues and painful dilemmas. It means questioning some of the most common assumptions about what's acceptable in the context of a D&D adventure. While the previous sections outlined positive actions good characters can and should perform to improve the world and better the lot of those in it, this section discusses some of those difficult choices and decisions the players must try to live up to with the high ideals that you're likely to face as they make contact with reality. Ends and means. When do good ends justify evil means to achieve them? Is it morally acceptable, for example, to torture an evil captive in order to extract vital information that can prevent the deaths of 1,000 innocents? A good character shudders at the thought of committing torture, but the goal of preventing 1,000 deaths is undeniably a virtuous one, and a neutral character might easily consider the use of torture in such a circumstance. With evil acts on a smaller scale, even the most virtuous characters can find themselves tempted to agree that a very good ends justifies a mildly evil means. Is it acceptable to tell a small lie in order to prevent a major catastrophe, or a small lie in order to prevent a minor catastrophe? A large catastrophe? A world-shattering catastrophe? Inner Light says, would you play a tabletop RPG based on Hero Quest, like adapted from it? Yeah, maybe. I mean, in some ways, isn't that what the Warhammer RPG is? It kind of is, right? Is it? Is what I got down here? Yeah, the Warhammer, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. Oh, Tomocrat says, I've been trying Shadow Dark, and that is good. I would use that with some D&D overlay for world building. In the D&D universe, the fundamental answer is no. This is to talk about, is it acceptable to tell a small lie in order to prevent a minor catastrophe? In the D&D universe, the fundamental answer is no. An evil act is evil no matter what good results it may achieve. A paladin who knowingly commits an evil act in pursuit of an end, no matter how good, still jeopardizes her paladinhood. An exalted character risks losing exalted feats or other benefits of celestial favor if he commits any act of evil for any reason. Whether or not good ends justify evil means, they certainly cannot make evil means any less evil. Some good characters might view a situation where an evil act is required to avert a catastrophe as evil as a form of martyrdom. I can save 1,000 innocent lives by sacrificing my purity. For some, that's a sacrifice worth making, just as though they would not hesitate to sacrifice their lives for the same cause. After all, it would simply be selfish to let innocents die so a character can hang on to her exalted feats. Unfortunately, this view is ultimately misguided, it says. This line of thinking treats the purity of the good character's soul as a commodity, like her exalted feats, that she can give up or sacrifice like any other possession. In fact, when an otherwise good character decides to commit an evil act, the effects are larger than the individual character. What the character sees as a personal sacrifice is actually a shift in the universal balance of power between good and evil. It's in evil's favor. This is interesting. The consequence of that single evil act, no matter how small, extend far beyond the single act and involve a loss to more than just the character doing the deed. Thus, it's not a personal sacrifice, but a concession to evil, and this is unconscionable. Oh, that's interesting. Because I understand where it was going with the, well, I'll sacrifice my purity in order to, save the 1,000 innocent lives. But in the context of the D&D universe, that is a concession to evil. Good ends might sometimes demand evil means. Lynn says, one thing that D&D never seems to question is the definition of good and evil. It takes an extremely modern Western stance on the subject. And yeah, Sable says, there's an underlying premise to that which assumes good is the default state of existence. Does it? I'm not sure about that. It would be interesting to explore a universe where evil was the default state. Or is, well, I'm not sure what it says that is the default state. I'm not sure. Or if these forces are in balance naturally, I'm not sure. Or by default, I don't know. Sometimes the situation might demand, in this case, it says good ends may sometimes demand evil means. The means remain evil, however. So the character who are serious about their good alignment and exalted status cannot resort to them, no matter how great the need. Sometimes a situation might demand that a good character cooperate with an evil one in order to accomplish a worthy and righteous goal. Sometimes even He-Man cooperates with Skeletor. Sometimes the situation might demand that a good character cooperate with an evil one in order to accomplish a worthy and righteous goal. The evil character might not even be pursuing the same goal. The evil character, for example, a brief civil war has put a new ruling house in power in a Drow city, and the new rulers start actively raiding the surface world. A party of good adventurers travels into the depths of the earth to stop the Drow raids. At the same time, a party of evil Drow loyal to the disposed house seeks to overthrow the new rulers and restore their house to its position of power. The two groups have different but mutually compatible goals, and it's possible, within certain limits, for them to cooperate with each other. However, the good characters must not tolerate any acts committed by an evil ally during the time of their alliance, and can't simply turn a blind eye to such acts. They must ensure that helping the Drow will put a stop to the surface raids, which must entail a level of trust with the Drow, the Drow simply do not deserve. Also interesting. And of course, they must turn on their erstwhile allies when victory is in sight, betraying the trust the Drow placed in them. Such a situation is both physically and morally, such a situation is dangerous both physically and morally, but cooperating with evil creatures is not necessarily evil in itself. So it says, so that's interesting. So they being the heroes, The good characters cannot tolerate any evil acts committed by an evil ally during the time of their alliance and simply can't turn a blind eye to such acts. They, the good characters, must ensure that helping the Drow will put a stop to the surface raids, which might entail a level of trust the Drow simply do not deserve. And of course, the good characters must not. Oh, no, they must not. Okay. And of course, they, the good characters, must not turn on their erstwhile allies when victory is in sight, betraying the trust the Drow placed in them. I think I said that sentence wrong. Violence. Violence is a part of the D&D world and not inherently evil in the context of that world. So the good characters don't get to betray the Drow. Violence is part of the D&D world and not inherently evil in the context of that world. The deities of good equip their heroes not just to be meek and humble servants, but to be their fists and swords, their champions in a brutal war against the forces of evil. A paladin smiting a black guard or a blue dragon is not committing an evil act. The cause of good expects and often demands that violence be brought to bear against its enemies. That said, there are certain limits upon the use of violence the good characters must observe. First, violence in the name of good must have a just cause, which in the D&D world simply means primarily that it must be directed against evil. It's certainly possible for a good nation to declare war upon another good nation, but fighting in such a conflict is not a good act. In fact, even launching a war upon a nearby tribe of orcs is not necessarily good if the attack comes without provocation. The mere existence of evil orcs is not a just cause for war against them. Well, that's important too. The mere existence of evil orcs is not a just cause for war against them if the orcs have been causing no harm. A full-scale war could provoke the orcs to evil deeds and bring unnecessary suffering to both sides of the conflict. Similarly, revenge is not an acceptable cause for violence, although violence is an appropriate means of stopping further acts of evil as opposed to paying back evil already committed. Well, that's a good point. So Sable says violence is a part of our world and not necessarily inherently evil in ours either. The second consideration is that violence should have good intentions. Launching an incursion into orc territory is not a good act if the primary motivation is profit, whether that means clearing the treasure out of the ruins the orcs inhabit, or claiming their land for natural resources. Violence against evil is acceptable when it's directing at or stopping or preventing evil acts from being done. The third consideration is discrimination. Violence cannot be considered good when it's directed against non-combatants, including children and the females of at least some races and cultures. Placing a fireball so the area includes orc women and children, as well as warriors and barbarians, is evil, since the non-combatant orcs are not a threat and are comparatively defenseless. Finally, the means of violence must be as good as the intentions behind it. The use of evil spells obviously is not good, even when the target is evil. Likewise, the use of torture or other practices that inflict undue suffering upon the victims goes beyond the pale of what can be considered good. Within those limits, violence in the name of good is an acceptable practice in the D&D universe. Let's see. So relationships, this is going to be another fantastic discussion series here. So I'm glad I went ahead and picked this one up and decided to get going with it. So we got relationships here. Oh, no, so we do have some notes on law, chaos, and good here. So we are at least going to address that issue. I'm going to stick this in here, but we'll also see where we're going. So that's where we are. But we will talk about law, chaos, and good right here. Playing a hero. Exalted equipment. So there's obviously, we're going to talk about something about a character actually becoming exalted. I do like, this was the version that had all the chapters with their chapter's name on it. I wish that they actually went down in different, went down the page, but I do like that. Like Shadow Dark has the black marks going down, telling you that you're in a different chapter, but it doesn't tell you what the chapter is. All right. So this will be our new series right here. So I will see everybody later. What is this today? Friday? Okay. Well, have a wonderful Friday. I will see everybody tomorrow. I'm going to try to get a lot of work done today. Everybody go forth, be creative, be constructive, and grind on. Later, everybody.